What's going on, guys? Here's a tutorial on how to use your Nikon D3200. I can't teach you how to take pictures. I've already done those tutorials. This video is just on the camera itself, like different settings to change when you go in the menu, and how to change your aperture, your shutter speed, and ISO. And you can actually do that externally as well. You know, before you had to go in the menu to change everything. Now you can do some of the stuff externally. All right, so first thing you want to do is click on the menu. This is basic stuff, okay? Image rotation review, I keep it off. It saves. You don't want to chimp. You don't want to look at every single picture that you take. So I keep it on off. It saves on the battery as well. Rotate tall. When you view the picture, it basically, the vertical stuff, it will rotate it. So I keep it off. So the first playback menu is very simple. There's not much in there, okay? Second is your shooting menu. First thing you want to do is that you want to reset your settings, okay? Alright, now I can just do everything from scratch. Set picture control, I leave it on standard. I don't want the camera to do any additional color enhancement in there. You can choose vivid or different styles. I leave it on standard because I shoot in RAW, all the page stuff obviously, and then we basically added this in post-processing it using Lightroom or whatever software you use. Okay, image quality. If you do shoot in RAW, then obviously you're going to use RAW, which is your NEF file. If you don't shoot in RAW, I would still recommend at least shoot in JPEG Fine. Normal is okay, but JPEG Fine is going to give you the best quality in JPEG, okay? Image size, leave it at large. You're going to get your maximum 24 megapixel out of that. White balance, I leave it on auto. Unless you want to do a custom white balance. I've done a video on that if you want to check it out. For the most part, white balance is pretty accurate, and white balance is one thing that you can always fix in post-processing. So leave it on auto. ISO sensitivity. You'll have to watch my ISO video to understand exactly what ISO is and what it does, but this is where you go to change your ISO. You can actually change this just moving a dial. I'll show you later how that's done, but in the menu, this is where you go to change your ISO sensitivity. Don't use auto ISO, keep that off. Maximum, it's by default it's set at 6400. There's no way you can use ISO 6400 on D3200, so leave it on off so it does not automatically increases it in low light situation. Active delighting. On my D7000 and my D3S, I left it on off. With this camera, just leave it on, okay? Same thing with auto distortion control, leave it off. You don't want the camera to fix that. Distortion is something that you want to fix in post-processing, okay? Colorspace, leave it at sRGB. Noise reduction. On my other two cameras, I have them on off. And in this, I guess it will help you a little bit because the ISO performance is not going to be really great on this camera, so leave it on. AF area mode. This is absolutely imperative for you guys to understand this. I've done a couple of videos on this explaining why it's important. Alright, when you use single point, leave it on single point, okay? And this basically allows you to move this focal point in your camera around so you can focus on where you want to focus. If you leave it on auto, which is your default, camera is going to focus whatever that's the closest subject, or the camera is going to pick up dark colors. So make sure that you have this on single point. Keep in mind that even if you shoot in auto mode, the second you switch your camera from aperture or manual to auto, it's going to override that single point and it's going to switch to auto. So make sure that you leave it on single point, and whenever you shoot in auto, it will automatically switch back and forth for you, okay? Built-in AF assist, always keep this on. It's absolutely imperative for your low light shots. What it does is that, let me see if you can see it. Probably not. Let me bring closer. This light here, this is your AF assist. When you are shooting in low light where the camera cannot focus, when you press this shutter release halfway through, this LED light is going to go off, and it's going to lit your subject, and that's how your camera is going to focus even in low light. So make sure that AF assist is on. Metering. Okay, this camera has 3 types of metering. You have your matrix, center weighted, and your spot. When you're doing portraits, you want to use spot metering. When you're doing landscape stuff, you want to use matrix metering. I've done a video on this, explain every single thing in detail. Make sure you check that out. Movie setting. If you are into movies, and that is one of the main reasons why I bought this camera, this is where you change the resolution. 1080p 30 frames, 1080p 24 frames, 720p at 60 frames. So if you're going to shoot sports and you want to do slow motion, you want to use 60 frames per second. And if you just want the maximum, resolution, then 1080p 24, people talking, 24 frames per second would be more than enough. Okay, and you can also do your 420 here, which seems like it's progressive. Yeah, it is. 30 frames per second, which is kind of like DVD quality. Okay, movie quality, leave it on high, which is default. Microphone setting, auto sensitivity is fine. I mean, you'll have to really test it and see where you're sitting and talking. Manual movie setting, I always do all my movies in manual because you don't want the exposure to change automatically for you in the middle of the recording. So leave that on. Alright, next area. Wait, let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. I did. Flash control. This is for your pop-up flash. Leave it on TTL. TTL is through the lens, and that's basically just auto. Okay, now if you want to do manual stuff, this is where you go. Full, half power, 1/4 power, 1/8 power. Okay, so this camera does not have commander mode, which means you're not going to use this in manual. So stick with your TTL, which is fine. Okay, next, setup menu. Reset it just in case if you mess with it already. Alright, format memory card. You should try not to delete your pictures on your memory card. Let's say you took pictures of your cousin's birthday, 100 pictures. Don't delete them one by one. You want to format the memory card, because if you're going to delete one by one, you're going to have, eventually your card's going to give you error, and you can lose the data on your card. So try to format them. I can't use it because I've data on this card. I don't want to show you how it's done, but just click there, go yes, and it will format the card for you. Monitor brightness, leave it at 0. Display info. Oh my god, this is, let me see. Never mind, that's not the one. Alright, display info is just the color of it. This thing here is absolutely annoying. That's why I said, oh my god. Turn this thing off. It is so annoying, I cannot even tell you. By default, it's on. Turn it off. What it does is that, let me show you. Every time you're ready to take a picture, this screen will go off if your display is on. And when you're trying to look through this viewfinder, this light is hitting your eyes. It's really annoying. So I always turn that thing off. Okay. Clean image sensor. This will basically just clean your sensor for you, and you can also set that up in advance. So every time you start your camera or shut down your camera, it will basically just clean your sensor. I would leave it on as is right now at like leave it at dash, and whenever you see a dust on your sensor, you can just use this feature and it will clean the dust. Okay. Lockup mirror for cleaning. Sometimes the dust does not come off using this feature, so you have to basically lock up the mirror, and I'll have to do a video on that to really explain what I'm saying. And this allows you to basically clean your sensor by blowing air in there. And another feature for lockup is when you're doing landscape photography on a tripod, and for absolute sharp, tack sharp pictures, you want to use mirror lockup. Okay, I'll do a video on it and I'll explain exactly how that's done. Video mode, all my Asian friends, you're gonna use, I don't know how to say this, is it Paul, I don't know. So us in America, we're using NTSC. HDMI output, you could leave it on auto. I don't use HDMI. I don't, show my pictures on TV to anyone because they're unedited, but this is what basically it. Okay. Flickr, I don't do any Flickr stuff from here. If you guys do, this will apply to you. Time zone date, this is where you go to change it. Languages, default is English. I'm gonna leave it at that. Auto image rotation, you can leave it on, which is your default. Okay, this is where you basically set it so it automatically cleans the sensor when you start the camera, turn on the camera. Alright, this is your standby mode. Leave it on normal. Long is too long, it will drain your battery. Short is too short, so leave it on normal, just fine. Self timer is absolutely pathetic on this camera because my experience was that every single time I took a picture, I had to set the camera on self timer when I was using a tripod. But this is where you go. You can select 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I would go with 2 seconds unless you want to be in the group picture. Then 10 seconds is good. Okay. Number of shots, you can tell the camera how many shots you want. So if you're doing a group shot, and you want multiple shots, you can just tell the camera in advance. All right, remote on location, remote location on duration. I've never used this feature because I don't use remote. I use cable release, so I don't want to bullshit you. If anyone familiar with this feature, please write in the comments, and you guys can thumbs up so everyone can see that. Beep, leave it on low, I guess. You don't want beep to be really loud. Everyone's gonna call you obnoxious. Okay, sequence, rangefinder, buttons. This allows you to basically assign different buttons. For example, let me see. There's an FN button right here. When you press this FN button and move this dial, it will change your ISO. So you can change that feature. Instead of changing the ISO, you can change the white balance, you can change the image quality. In my opinion, ISO is the better choice. So leave it as is, which is your default. You can do the same thing with your exposure lock as well. Okay, so leave it as is. Print date, none of that stuff applies to you. GPS basically just records your location when you take that picture. Okay, so we're pretty much done. I'm going to show you in a minute how to change your shutter speed and aperture and all that stuff. This is your retouch menu. I'm sorry, I did not like this. I did not like this at all. This basically does basic editing for you. It will get rid of your red eye. It will trim the picture, which is sort of like cropping. Here it will add different effects. I tried different filters. I just did not like it. I did not like it at all. And if you go further, hold on. You can straighten your picture, which is good, but again, I highly recommend you guys get some software. Most computers come with a free editing software, so that is still better than using this retouch menu, in my opinion. Distortion control, this, if you're doing really wide angle shot and there's a distortion, it will fix that. Fish eye, these are some of the features you're not going to use. It just does not look nice. I saved a couple of pictures in there. I'll show you why I don't like it. Just something you're not going to use. Okay, miniature effect was the only one that's not too bad. Okay, and this is this is your recent setting. This basically tells you the last, some of the last stuff that you did. So nothing important. Okay. All right. So let me show you. I showed you how to change your ISO, like you go in the menu, but if you press the info button, this white screen is going to come up. Press this one more time and the screen will go black and gray. And now you can basically change your ISO from here. So it's ISO is selected, press OK, and externally you can change it instead of going in the menu. Okay, so to go back, press info again, and now you want to change your single point to I don't know, AFA auto or AFC, which is your continuous mode. You, without going in the menu, you can do that from here. So leave that on AFS, okay, which is your autofocus single. Same thing with here, different areas, single point, auto area, leave it on single point. Okay, metering, you can change that from here. This is your matrix metering, center weighted, spot, we talked about it. So instead of going in the menu, you can change pretty much all the settings from here. Okay, auto white balance, quality of the picture, you can switch it to raw from here. So I really like this feature. It's the first time I'm seeing it in an entry-level DSLR that you don't have to go in the menu to change it. Okay, now let's talk about how to change your aperture. Okay, so unlike some of the advanced cameras, this has only one dial. Okay, and I believe Canon has the same thing. Normally the advanced cameras, they have a dial here, they have a dial here, and sometimes Canon has a dial on top. So with this camera, there's only one dial, which means that you'll have to press another button to change your setting. So if you want to change your aperture in aperture mode, you can do that from here, and you can see right here your aperture is changing, right? But what if you want to change your ISO? Well, remember there was an FN button that was assigned to ISO. Press this FN button, of course, and then you can change your ISO. And as you can see right here, it's changing the ISO. Okay, quickly before my battery dies. In manual mode, you have to change three things. So in manual mode, you're going to change this is your shutter speed, okay? This dial will change your shutter speed, as you can see right here. If you press this button, this will change your aperture in manual mode. So watch, this is going to change. This is how you change your aperture. And for ISO, it's the same button, which is your FN button. Press that, and you can change your ISO. So it's pretty simple. So if you're not too sure how to take pictures in manual mode, watch my aperture tutorial. You can take pictures in auto and semi-automatic. You can take pictures in shutter mode. I don't recommend it. You know, I'm basically in between aperture and manual. And you know, in the beginning, you can shoot in auto. I'm not gonna say, oh my God, what are you doing? You know, it's not like that. Just concentrate on your composition. I've done many tutorials on all of that. So watch them, and in no time you're gonna start taking great pictures. Okay, you spend a lot of money on a camera, you might as well take great pictures as well. Okay, so that's pretty much it, guys. This is your live view, and I'm going to do a tutorial on video stuff pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. And I hope all is well, and if you have any special requests, please let me know. Take care, guys.